This is Dunnikin Hills 35 plus 123 road race. This is about 3 hours in. There was a crash. I chased back on for a while. But right now, it's kind of frustrating. It's pretty slow pace, not a lot of attacks. We're just kind of rolling. And my whole thing with this race was, if I were to win this race, I'd get my Cat 2 upgrade.
Then
so
in there, right?
I wanted to win so bad.
And real quick,
I did so bad.
Yeah, the course is pretty flat. There's a couple power rollers like into the finish, some turns. It's like not quite a 4-corner long road race, but it looks a lot like this the whole time. Right?
Yeah, and the wind was not a factor either.
Yeah, it's
light wind.
Yeah, these long road races that are pretty flat, it's hard to find things that enable the race to break apart and do stuff like that. So, and nobody had been attacking the whole race, right?
There'd been some attacks, but they got brought back, and usually just solo riders, and maybe like 3 riders for like 2-3 minutes.
And there's one guy off the front currently?
Not yet.
Okay,
I believe.
Cool. Well, yeah. As we jump in, you're on the front. You know, it seems as I was watching this, we were kind of talking about rolling through, and you're not doing very many watts, right? You're only.
Yeah, this is less than recovery.
So
we're just sitting there.
I know, and as this kind of race plays out, one of the things that I think is really important to remember is, even though you're not working hard on the front, you're robbing someone else from doing too much work. Like, you're removing any errors other people could be doing.
Yeah.
So it's not about you. It's not the easy stuff you're doing. If other people are accelerating and doing dumb moves and you're sitting back, you're pretty much removing other people's ability to mess up.
Okay, so here's the attack, and I don't know. It seemed like whenever I went, everyone wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I wanted to not close down these things, and I like the Sierra Nevada riders, and I was like, sweet, he's going. I'll just let somebody else close that down. And nobody seemed to care. It's like the slowest attack ever.
Yeah.
He rides away like this and wins.
Yep.
How?
Watching the video, everybody, I think, leading into this, you had been kind of controlling the field, or you must have been, at least covering things more frequently than not. And watching everybody behind you, they just kind of wait for you to cover. And then follow along.
It's frustrating because there's teams. There's at least 3 teams in the field still that I felt like have some kind of obligation, if they want to win, to cover this. And this is not hard to cover right now. It's
no,
right there.
You're only doing,
100 watts.
Exactly.
Right? 80 watts. Oh, I'm just going to coast down this hill.
And that's one of those things where, if there are teammates and the field is probably 20 riders or
something like that.
About that. If you have no teammates, you shouldn't be anywhere near the front if someone's off the front, right? Like, no matter what, even though you're not doing anything, it's really hard. I have a hard time with that too. I will say, a lot of the things you're doing in this video, most of us have a hard time with, and it's a hard cut to bring yourself 5 wheels back, 10 wheels back.
I feel like right now, the way that I'm riding, I should be Sierra Nevada's teammate.
You should be.
Because I'm just like going 16 miles per hour, less than 200 watts, and just chilling out as the gap opens.
Yeah, I just can't believe that nobody cares. And it wasn't hard leading into that.
No, it was easy.
It's easy. And but I think some people start they start shaking it up a little bit. But look, nobody cares, right?
I know. I think they thought maybe like he's not going to stay away, and at some time we're going to pick it up, but obviously we're not. So basically, that's a really good takeaway. I should not be in the front because I could have other people making mistakes, working too hard. Yeah,
that's the first thing that you notice right off the bat. And over the course of this last hour of the race, you spend a lot of the time near or on the front. A lot. And even though you're not doing anything, right? Like, you start wagging your elbow, trying to get people to come through. It's someone else could be doing too much work, or other people would be attacking, things like that. And then one last thing is, covering things from the front, and you are always covering things because you're worried about losing. Covering from the front is so hard.
Yeah, it's also, though, there's the double line rule here.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can get stuck, especially when, like, you can see in the back it's kind of spread out. So it's frustrating. This is the most frustrating race.
As you guys can see, right? It's still 17 miles an hour. You're going up a little.
Another slow attack.
Another slow attack. But yeah, that first rider more or less walked away from everybody, and that's that. You start attacking from the front. Again, I think not that you should never attack from the front, but if you
he tries to kill me. That was
yes. It's just that every star is aligning as you're going through.
I had some momentum. I had to hit the brakes.
So we will talk about one of these things real quick. I saw this a bunch of times over the course of this video. The Penn Velo rider that's on the front right now, he will look back and realize that people are close and then stop pedaling. And so all it takes, I will say, in most of these road races, even though the gap is 50 or 100 feet, if someone stops pedaling in your breakaway for 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, that you lose half your gap just right then. So it's kind of either up to you to actually make the gap happen, but if the same guy keeps pulling through and then coasting on the front, like don't let him go through. If he starts coming past you, fight your way back to the front.
That probably happened 4 or 5 times during this. If you watch the whole video, where he comes through and then he pulls not super hard, looks back, and then sits up.
Yep, and that he effectively shuts down the breakaway over and over. And he's trying to work, it seems like, but it only takes 1 or 2 seconds of inactivity to throw your breakaway away.
2, in these big, these longer road races, like you don't need to have a huge gap, right? Because people end up giving up. Everyone's super tired, right?
Yeah, in the last hour, and that's kind of what I kept expecting to happen is watching this unfold. I kept waiting for people to just, the elastic doesn't snap, and then, or it does snap, and then they just go, they drop, 15 feet per 10 seconds, and they just go backwards, and then they're gone. One of the things when you get to this far into the race, you have to decide how you want to win the race. Or how you are going to win. And so you've ridden the finish how many times at this point? 3?
3, yeah.
And so that power roller at the end probably suits your power profile.
A little steep. But
it's a little steep, but at least it's 1 minute long, approximately. There's no real turns, nothing crazy. You just have to turn on the power. So I think when you're 3/4 of the way through just about any race, whether it's a 4-hour road race or a crit, start putting all your eggs in one basket. And you still kind of think that you might be able to snap the field.
I want to catch back on. I want to break away, catch that rider, sprint from like 3 or 4 people.
Yep. And so a good one more thing with this size of group is the pack will never catch the lone rider, but a breakaway will. Yeah. So the pack will, if they haven't caught him yet, the race is over from that point of view. But if you get 3 motivated guys, you'll catch the lone rider for sure. So don't put any effort into the group. Put it only into the breakaway.
That's a good tip.
So let's go forward to. Actually, you're just about to attack. Let's go to 13:30. This is another good one where you actually do ride through the breakaway, and so I will say that's one of the good things you were doing in this race and in the whole weekend. It's so much more beneficial to ride through a breakaway and kind of let the field have to work their way through them. You're keeping the momentum up, but again, you're kind of hanging out at threshold. You're going fast enough, but you do a lot of these attacks where you kind of get some separation and then settle in at threshold, and the field is fresh enough that shutting down someone doing threshold 15 or 30 feet or 50 feet off the front isn't too rough.
I was tired, bro.
I know. It was a long day. But then here again, you've got your breakaway companions and just not really pulling through, and then the field is just motivated enough that all of a sudden they're there. It only takes 10 seconds. Yeah, so you guys have been rotating through. Actually, everybody's sort of working, but you're definitely not making any progress in catching that lone rider.
Frustrated.
So this is where it gets frustrating. And one of the things that you have to remember is when it's frustrating for you, it's frustrating for everybody, right? There's nobody just saying, thank God I get to coast all the way to the finish line.
So I looked back and I saw there was like a 1 or 2 bike length gap, and then I gunned it.
Start attacking, and this is one where if you can stir the end of the race and start getting some counterattacks going, that's really what you want. If you can make the last 30 or 40 minutes of this race hard, it's a way different race all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
So you have your one breakaway companion, and he's the guy who earlier we were saying would kind of lose your gap. So that's one where I would take. You're doing a good job. You're taking longer, harder pulls. It's above threshold, so people are actually having to work in the field. You just have to be careful that if your co-patriot starts slowing down, you have to make up the speed. So you guys last for a little while. How'd you feel in the breakaway now?
I felt like I didn't have a lot of snap left, but I could still put out some power. But again, here they come. It's like the field didn't want to chase, but they had plenty. Like they chase breakaways, but not the solo rider.
Yep. And that's one example where just your breakaway companion went a little too slowly, and they just shut it down. Yeah. And then really, if there's some other fresh people in the field, this is where I would expect a lot of a real counterattack to go. Like you kind of teed them up, but nobody's countering, right?
No.
If someone's just pulling through, most of these guys just want to get to the finish.
Like this isn't a counterattack here.
Yep. It's just pulling through.
Why did he do that? Maybe trying to go hard?
Yeah, or get some. You can kind of try to get everybody back in rotation a little bit by taking one pull and flicking through, and but this is kind of where it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Even though you're sitting on the front doing 130 watts, you're disabling other people from pulling. So what I want to do at this part is let's fast forward super fast to 40 minutes in, and we'll watch how you just sit first or second wheel. So this is, again, you guys are just going super slow. So you're at this point, there's about 25 minutes left in the race. And I think here is the point where you really have to cut it and say, I'm going to sit with 5 guys in front of me, and I'm not going to do a single thing until the end of the race.
I still thought I could do like a solo kind of bomb, and I still had hope to catch somebody. I wanted that first place so bad.
Yeah, you knew that you couldn't upgrade, right, based on having that guy off the front. So rather than doing the best scenario for you, you were throwing things in to win.
Yeah, it was what do they call it? Desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah, desperate's the right word.
Desperation is there. It's one where you've done a handful of kind of those like mid-range attacks or medium attacks, and this is one where if you would have maybe saved all those up, we talked about on the podcast just yesterday, one real hammer blow is what makes the separation, and it's how you win.
Yeah, when I got caught behind that break, I did like 10 or 15 minutes at mid 300s, and that tired me out. And then I had, 12 kind of 1,000+ watt attacks that I shouldn't have done. If I would have had that all in one and have one really hard 30-second attack, and then 400 or 500 watts for a while, and then settle in a threshold for 15 minutes, that could have been the difference.
Right. That's all the things you needed in a row. It's just, I agree. It's really frustrating, and it's hard to pull yourself out of the front. You want to be ready for everything. But I think making that decision with a small amount of time left in the race, just be like, I have to figure this out. Either other people are going to pull him back and we're going to win, or but I'm not going to do it by myself. And so this is where you need someone else to start doing stuff. If no one else is going to work or attack, you really have to like fold your cards and just wait.
I think the smarter thing I should have just sat in the whole race, right?
Yeah.
And then like responded to people and counterattack rather than trying to do it. And attacking off the front. See, like, again, they let this guy kind of roll off, and then I said, I can leapfrog. So I didn't attack from the front, which is not the best.
Yeah. And at these, it's kind of like that middling 400, 500 watt attack. It's sort of just tiring you out, right?
I was hoping that I would just have like one person stop covering.
Yeah.
And then, we'd get away, because this is 3.5 hours in. We're pretty tired.
Yeah, and one thing I would say is, based on the last 40 minutes of the video, you've been working harder than everybody else. So you actually, even though you have high fitness level, you probably feel more tired than other people are feeling. It's just, unless you have someone else super motivated with you in the last quarter of the race, nothing. Everybody's just going to close everything down and then be ready to go.
You can see the field smaller. I have popped off a few people with these accelerations, but not.
Yeah. Nobody that was going to beat you anyways, right?
Yeah. So
let's go to the end. It's the exciting part.
Okay, we're 1K to go. An okay position right now?
I would say pretty good, fifth wheel. The only thing I would do is make sure I'm sitting on someone who I think is going to win the race.
And then look at my great position. Goes to a swarmed road with no chance to get by anybody in last wheel.
Yeah, and it narrows up for the last kick. And you're 6 bike lengths away from the front of the race right now.
And that's hard to like cover that. So they start the sprint, and now I get stuck.
Yep.
Like I can't pass anybody, and you'll see my power goes from 800 down to like 400 as I don't have anywhere to go.
Yep. And lapped riders you guys are catching lapped riders. Oh man.
Yeah, it's chaos.
And so this is one where it's such a long sprint, so you can't actually totally uncork. You just have to keep following wheels and.
Here's another guy slowing down. But on the right side, I can't go that way either because there's a lapped rider. I know. It's just hard. So right now I'm trying to just so I've obviously had bad position and I've lost. You can see up there are 3 riders ahead of me. I don't know how much space they had by being in the correct position and not getting boxed in. And I passed this rider. I got the Penn Velo guy ahead of me, and I'm gaining on him.
Yeah,
I think I might get him, but I don't.
Yeah. If this one was painful all around for me.
I know. I think if I was in a better position, second could have been in reach, although that guy's very strong. Third for sure. I ended up getting fourth.
But yeah, you almost caught him.
I know. So basically, the whole race, I should have been more in the pack, not on the front, so I could let people make mistakes.
Yep.
And then at the end, that's when I wanted to be closer because it was uphill finish, and because it was so narrow. That's a good point. If it was not narrow, kind of where I would have been okay.
Yeah. I would say if it's a big wide race, actually being last wheel is pretty ideal as long as there's no one that's going to blow up. And I think you have such a good job of just hammering it and people not passing you. Throw it out early and hope that no one comes by.
I know. So I should have. This is so bad. I should have hammered it. If I would have been second wheel and hammered it from there, it could have been a different outcome. And I could have saved all those attacks, those desperation attacks from the front to try to break up the race, to try to get first.
Yeah. I think you had a lot of cards fall not the way you wanted.
I know.
You still got points, right?
I still got points. Okay, good. So if you watch the next race, Sui-san, I was so frustrated with my performance here. On the next race, I said, I'm going to attack from the back every time. And if you look at the card at the end, you can watch that analysis now and see how I did. I'm Nate.
And I'm Pete.
If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up.
If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you would have done something differently, tell us about it in the comments below.
And if you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe. If you want to become a faster cyclist and put out more power, make sure you check out TrainerRoad.com. Who has better hair?
Probably you, really.
No, I think your hair's pretty good. It's more memorable.
It's longer.
I think girls comment on your hair more than mine.
It's more length.
Yep.